Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of the Star Bros podcast. I'm your host, Lamont, and as always, I'm joined by my brother, Roland.
It is I.
How you going, Rolly?
Yeah, good, bro. How are you?
That's good. Yeah, pretty good. How's your week been?
It's been good. It's been busy. I've been reading Star Wars comics. I've been watching Star Wars movies. I've been reading Star Wars news. As always, it's a Star Wars dominated week. How's your week been?
Same old Star Wars dominated week. I've been playing a lot of Battlefront 2.
Oh, really? How is it?
Really good.
Yeah, right. I've been playing Jedi Knight 2 on the Switch, actually. Yep. Yeah, it's cool. Everyone should go and get that game. $13.50 on the Nintendo eShop.
We are going to touch on it as well later
Excellent.
on, so we can nerd out over it.
Love it.
And of course, joining us again is Ellen.
Hello.
How are you?
Fantastic.
That's good. How's your week been?
Looking forward to this very moment, being in this room with you two and being able to talk about Star Wars without getting weird looks from people.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
I'm going to weird look you this whole podcast now.
I'm winking.
You can't actually see it, guys, but we got an upgrade in the studio this week. We now have a monitor, so we can see what's going on.
Damn.
Unfortunately, you can't see us yet, but one day.
You've outdone yourself, Monty.
I've tried my best.
It's amazing.
Yeah. With the budget that we have. All right, let's get straight into it. So, again, we have quite a little bit of news to go through this week. We had the Force Friday reveal that came through. I don't know if you guys went through and saw anything about it. They kind of showcased the toys that are going to be coming out.
Yes.
For the Mandalorian, The Rise of Skywalker. So that'll be... so actual Force Friday is this Friday. I think they said October the 4th. That is this Friday. So this Friday in your local retail store will be the brand new toys coming out for the Mandalorian, The Rise of Skywalker, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is a new video game coming out in November. That's going to be good.
I'm more excited than a 23-year-old woman should be about toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the thing I'm most excited about is these pop figures now. I'm starting to get a little collection here, but I think I'm going to have to get some more.
You are too.
It's a nice collection. I have the golden Darth Vader at home.
That's cool. I'm actually trying to find just a plain Darth Vader, and I can't find it in store. I think I have to buy it online, which is alright. It's the same price, but still, yeah, they've just got the gold figures now. The gold ones don't do it for me.
No, neither, but it was a gift, and I love it. Thank you very much, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Good on you, Dad.
Sorry for bagging you out, Ellen's dad, for your poor choice. Anyways, so yeah, Force Friday's coming out. That'll be very exciting. That'll give us a bit of news to talk about next week. But obviously, in the lead up to The Mandalorian, which is only coming out in like 6 weeks' time or 2 months' time, look at it how you like, but it's coming out very, very soon, and also The Rise of Skywalker. So obviously, we've only got teaser trailers for both of this movie and this TV series. And along that, we are now starting to get some images. As you can see in front of us, we have one of the new images for The Mandalorian. Of course, we're talking about the Mandalorian in the cockpit of the Razor Crest. What a name for a ship.
It's cool.
It's cool.
It's cool.
It looks good. What do you guys think of this image? Do you take anything from it at all?
I feel hope. I feel inspired. I feel excitement. I feel nothing but good feelings looking at this. It looks like Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars. It has promise. I'm way too hype about this show. Please do not let me down, The Mandalorian.
I concur. It looks awesome. It looks gritty. It just looks awesome. I feel like a 12-year-old kid. I'm excited. I want the Lego sets. I want the toy sets. Sign me up, Mandalorian. Let's do this.
Absolutely.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, the toys, the Lego sets, they're going to be everything about this movie. But this looks awesome. You're right, guys. It does feel like Star Wars, and it looks like Star Wars. And I couldn't be more excited.
It's
and
just got that, like, that,
it looks prestige. And
yeah,
I
but
don't know.
It's got that like recycled look that the original
trilogy had.
Yeah,
yes,
like,
because most of the stuff in the set was actually recycled or things fashioned out of broken camera parts or old stuff that they just could get their hands on because they did not have enough money. And that I love that carries on into this image. I also love that Star Wars, it kind of has fantasy elements to it. Like, you got Jedi Knights, you have princesses and queens of different planets, and even in the Mandalorian's armor you can see that kind of echo, but it still has that awesome sci-fi look to it as well. It's just the whole package.
That's a good point, actually. I'm looking at it now, and it does have like the crest in the middle of the armor looks medieval, and yeah, it looks cool.
Looks good. Along with this as well, we actually did get a couple new promotional posters. This is the first one here of just the Mandalorian himself. Something we can take away from this, great observation by Rolly prior to us starting the podcast, is that he is wearing different armor compared to when he is sitting in the cockpit of the Razor Crest. Thoughts, feelings?
Could be two different people.
Could be. They could be tricking us.
I said this. You may. I was saying before. We don't really like. Do we know what's happened with Boba Fett? Just to be crystal clear,
he is not dead because there's nothing in canon that says he's actually dead.
Unless someone's head comes off, they're not dead in Star Wars.
Yeah, true. Okay, there's two arguments to this. One is that there's no way that they would let a character like Boba Fett go to waste if they're making a show called The Mandalorian that is set in a time period where he might crop up. The second part of this, and I really want to look this, I couldn't find any further information on this, but there's rumors that there's a licensing issue if they put a character like Boba Fett in these shows, because then they would technically owe George Lucas more royalties. Part of his deal with Star Wars is that if they use his original characters, he has to... Apparently, anyway, that's part of the rumor. But do you think that Boba Fett's going to show up in this show, guys? What do you reckon?
I think that's the general hope. I mean, look at the Mandalorian armor. It just reminds you so much of Boba Fett's costume.
Why would they invoke that? I mean, listen, like Monty's sitting next to me here, and you probably know all about the Mandalorians, and you probably know everything there is to know in terms of the extended universe writings. But people who have only seen the films, and that's most people, look at these images and see someone who looks exactly like Boba Fett, and that's what they're going for. I just don't know why they would invoke that without delivering on that promise. Not that it's a promise, but I don't know. Either way, I don't actually care if he's in it or not, to be honest.
Neither.
With you. I wouldn't mind either way. It just looks awesome, but I was just curious to see if you guys... What do you think? What's the guru think?
It'd be cool to see Boba Fett. I can tell you that's not Boba Fett because Boba Fett's a clone. And he looks nothing like the actor who's playing the Mandalorian.
Yeah, but in the teaser trailer, we haven't seen the actor remove his helmet.
We haven't.
So
maybe could they be two different people?
They could be.
Or are they not? Is it the same person? Are we going to see the journey?
I mean, this is only 7 or 8 episodes. I mean, an armor change is something that you'd expect to happen, I guess, over a couple of seasons. But to happen within the span of 7 or 8 episodes, I don't know. It's questionable. Look, it has merit to it. It could be 2 characters. I don't think it is. I think it is just the one character. And look, maybe he finds an armor upgrade and a local canteen on Tatooine or something. Yeah, or a downgrade, yeah.
It looks like he's... on the armor with most of the promotional material, it's got bits of the armor that are red and then other bits which are silver.
Yeah.
And it looks to me as though the red bits are bits that he's kind of just thrown on in lieu of other stuff falling off. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks different. It does. Maybe, he is on a mission and he's just crashed his ship and then he's got to try and find new armor. And his way of finding new armor is finding recycled parts on Tatooine.
Yeah, could be.
Could be. This could be the start of the show. Who knows?
That'd be like very Wild Wild West Star Wars.
I'd really like to see that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to our next piece of news, we have the Rise of Skywalker images coming our way. This is pretty cool. I'm going to go through the first one. We got some new covers from the Empire magazine for the Rise of Skywalker. So we got a few variant covers. We got one of Kylo Ren with his lightsaber crossing swords with Rey and her rebuilt lightsaber. And then we got another one with both of them posing together. Do you guys take anything away from these, or they're just kind of like they look cool?
Nah.
From a design perspective, I like that they have the two different covers that you can get with them versing each other. Kind of appreciate that. Good on you, Empire. Good design. Obviously, they're a long-lived magazine. They know what they're doing. Do you notice the red cracks in Kylo's helmet?
So
how they stand out?
So there's rumors. Well, there's actually a bit of a leak. So someone took a photo of the helmet that you can buy in store, and it actually had on it Force Rage, and it said that this helmet will light up when Kylo gets angry. So part of it is that when he gets angry, that helmet lights up pretty much. It's Force Rage.
Yes, this is why we love the toys.
Yeah.
Thank you, toys.
Yep. So you can be in that helmet, and that helmet can glow up. So there was a leaked photo of that. So I think that's probably what it is. So that whatever that helmet is binded by, it lights up when he gets angry. Could be melted down kyber crystal. That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
I will bring up a point that Roland brought up before we start the podcast, is that Luke Skywalker goes through a costume change as his character changes, whereas Rey's costume hasn't changed.
And Kylo. They're both
And
pretty much the
Kylo.
same.
It's pretty much the same.
Monty was saying, I brought that point up before. Monty said that the Rey's outfit is a one shade or lighter of white.
Yes.
Very good observation there.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite different enough for my liking to... I mean, I guess the point I was making to Ellen was that in the original trilogy, Luke starts off with his Tatooine scraps that he's wearing, and then he has in episode 5 his rebellion pilot uniform, and then in the Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, he's got his black robes, and the uniform for him starts to get darker, and it's just one of those subtle things that suggests that his character's had change and has matured and grown up a bit. And it's not just the color, it's also the cut of what he's wearing. And anyway, it's just one of those clever little subtle things that they've put in the film to suggest that the character's changed and had some sort of development. Don't see any of that for Rey, but then again, Rey's already perfect in every way anyway, so what could she develop too? I don't know.
Fair enough.
Kylo's had a change though. I mean, the helmet's changed.
The helmet's changed. Well, the helmet's back. Do you reckon that's a sign of JJ just trying to fix The Last Jedi?
Yep.
I think this whole poster here, and we're looking at the poster of Rey and Kylo posing together on Empire magazine. I think I read this as desperation for them trying to drum up some sort of excitement for this film, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm more excited for The Mandalorian. That's where I'm at.
Mandalorian, hey? Well, maybe this image might excite you, Rolly. We have a new image of the Knights of Ren. So they're all just standing in a line. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
this
a
looks
cool
like
shot.
smoke or cobwebs or something. Who knows? Looks like smoke, but it's a cool shot. It just makes you kind of want to know more about them and what they're about. Again, I don't know if they're going to get a lot of screen time in this movie. I fear that they may not.
I wish they had screen time in the previous film.
I think that's the problem is, and it goes back to it again, JJ probably should have just directed the entire trilogy so a coherent story could have been told. I mean, he didn't really touch on them in The Force Awakens. What we had was that vision, which could be a vision of the future and what happens, and it could be events taking place in Rise of Skywalker. But these are characters that... And there was rumors of people who were actually trying to look out when they were in when the whole production crew was in Ireland, and apparently the Knights of Ren were fighting Luke and Rey on top of a cliff or something, and people witnessed that they saw that or something from a distance, the filming crew capturing that. How come it really sucks that these characters were not included in The Last Jedi. Because if you had that build-up, they would have been completely awesome in Rise of Skywalker. But now it's who knows?
Yeah, I agree. They look really cool. The design's cool. I mean,
Yes.
is it... The problem is, so far, this new trilogy has failed to deliver any interesting characters. And is this just more style over substance? I don't know. I hope not. I hope they do something cool with the Knights of Ren. We'll see.
I do like the design of their costumes. It's menacing. Even in that short flashback or vision that you see of them, they looked menacing. The minute you saw them, you're like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you want to know more about them.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing too is that like it's not just the Star Wars films, the new Star Wars films, which haven't been good, but the games haven't been great either. And the most notorious one that's been released recently is Star Wars Battlefront 2, released in 2017.
Yeah.
And that was just an absolute mess. And it was like the gameplay was terrible. Well, the gameplay was terrible because it was pay to win. The main story wasn't that great, but it looked amazing. And the design of the game was absolutely incredible. And I think we can say the same for the films, is that the story hasn't been that great. But even in Rian Johnson's film, The Last Jedi, which I'm not a fan of, the design is really cool. Like the salt planet with the red underneath is actually, I think that actually visually is a really cool idea. And spoilers for The Last Jedi, but the scene where the ship goes light speed and tears through the look, we can argue about the logic of that in the Star Wars universe, but it is a really cool looking scene, and the costumes are really cool. Kylo looks cool, but just like, again, lots of style, little substance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't excite. I want to be more excited by these shots, but I just want to see the film at this point.
Is it just because, like, when you look at The Mandalorian, you see hope for something new, hope for something that could work, and then now when you look at images for the current series, you just think, I'm going to be let down again?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, I do see hope in The Mandalorian. I think the aesthetic in The Mandalorian is just it's the Star Wars that I want, the Star Wars I grew up with. This is, I mean, just I mean, it looks cool, but again, there's not much underneath the surface. Whereas The Mandalorian is a real chance of them telling a cool story with cool characters in that.
Yeah. All right. On to the next image we have released. We got a cool image of Kylo Ren. Looks like he's holding his ground while the stormtroopers getting blown away by a unknown object or unknown person. Take a guess at what it might be. I guess what the blue light is.
Blue light would probably be Rey, wouldn't it? Usually, they very iconically always use blue and red to be good and evil.
I'm going to guess that this is the Millennium Falcon taking off from this hangar, escaping.
Seems to be the popular theory.
Is it? I haven't actually read anything on it, but that is what I'd guess, yeah.
See, that's usually the popular. That has been the popular theory of this photo. Is that's the Millennium Falcon.
It's a cool shot.
It is a cool shot. Notice that he's holding his helmet as well. Again, it's glowing red. He's angry. He's pissed.
Oh God! I hope that's not what it is. I hope that his helmet doesn't light up just because he's angry. I mean, look. Okay, can we talk about this for a sec?
Absolutely.
Can we just talk about Kylo Ren? Because I've just read the Kylo Ren comic.
You want to touch on that now or later?
Well, I mean, what I'm about to say relates to that, but I do just want to. We can come back to it. But
okay.
I just want to quickly say that so far, like, Kylo Ren has been just a whingy teenager who flips out when things aren't going exactly the way he wants, and I just want him to be that calm, cool, collected leader. And I honestly want him to kill the rebellion, kill them all. I want him to win. I'll be rooting for him in episode 9. But here in this shot, he does have that stoic, cool, calm, collected look on his face. And I hope that's the Kylo we get to see in episode 9. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll come back to his character and when we review. Yeah.
Could be the Emperor. It'd be cool if it was just the Emperor, like, just coming in. Yeah.
Maybe that's what the helmet is.
No, it would be purple. If it was the Emperor, it would be purple, right?
No, because that's Mace Windu. everything purple in the Star Wars universe
Is Mace
has
Windu.
is Mace
You
Windu.
haven't seen purple in Star Wars since Revenge of the Sith.
Is that
True.
true?
Probably.
It's probably true.
I will say the shot is cool, and something that I do like about the new series is that they use practical lighting, and it makes the film look incredible. And that's what made the original trilogy look incredible, was the awesome sci-fi lighting. Just saying.
What did we watch the other day where you were saying the lighting was just shocking? It was terrible.
Well, when we watched
Oh,
Revenge of the Sith,
It was Star Wars.
it really bothered me, okay, that the lightsabers would reflect on Yoda's face, but it didn't reflect on anybody else's because they weren't using practical lighting. Maybe the technology wasn't there for them to be able to use more colored lighting with the actual actors. I think also just the general lack of props and set contributed to that as well.
Yeah, I know it feels like like someone could listen to that and think, oh, she's just nitpicking. But
Which I am.
yeah, but it is it is immersion breaking when those little things don't. As soon as you pointed that out to me, I couldn't unsee it. So
I'd just like to ruin movies.
But
There you
anyway,
go.
to summarize, cool shot.
Cool shot. It's
Yeah.
probably just a ship. It's probably the Millennium Falcon.
I reckon it's the Falcon.
I reckon it is too.
Are we going to put money on it?
$20.
I'd say it's 9 out of 10 chance that it's
Do you want
definitely
to
a
bet
ship.
against it?
Yes.
$20, you're on.
All right.
$20 saying, Ellen, what are you going for? It's
That it's not the Millennium Falcon. I'm not saying what it is. I'm just
That's
saying
cool.
it's
I'll
not
take
the
that
Millennium
bet.
all right,
Falcon.
and you reckon it is the Millennium
Yeah,
Falcon?
$20, yeah.
All right, there you go. Wow, I can't wait until I'm just gonna be
Now
looking
I'm
for. I'm gonna be looking for the scene the
I'm more
entire
excited about
movie.
this bet.
You
We're
know,
all going to look at each other in the
you
cinema
know,
and
it
be
would
like,
be funny if this scene wasn't even in the movie. Because they've done that before, where there's just these really cool shots. There's that iconic shot of Kylo Ren in like the Force Awakens very first teaser trailer when he's like whipping out his lightsaber, and that particular shot, like in the snow forest, and that shot was just never in the movie. So they do it.
True.
They do it. So don't be surprised if this isn't in the movie.
it's because the film gets sent to the marketing team during its rough cut, and that's when they make the first trailer.
It's true.
So there's a lot of shots in there that end up getting cut either because of time or the director doesn't think it adds to the story, etc., etc. So it happens a lot.
There you go.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. On to the next segment, which I like to call Exploring the Galaxy. This is our segment where we go outside of the movies. We talk about all the comics, books, what's the latest, and the video games, perhaps, and what's happening.
This is all a plan to get me and Ellen to read stuff from the outside, from the extended universe.
Yes.
Amazing. I'm impressed.
Okay with it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Excellent. Rolly, let's talk about our first piece of Exploring the Galaxy. You and I read the new comic Age of Resistance Kylo Ren Issue 1. This comic came out, I think it was last Wednesday, I think it came out.
All three of us have read it now.
We've all read it now. Ellen, you got the chance to read it as well before we started
Thank you.
recording. Go around the table. Rolly, obviously you were touching on it just beforehand, but please elaborate on your thoughts on this particular comic issue.
Okay. Well, first of all, these comic issues are pretty cool. They're really well drawn, nice and simple, short and sharp. Listen, I think this is I think it's a fun. It's a fun. I want to say it's an insight into Kylo's character, but it's not. So it's just more affirmation that Kylo is young and arrogant. I actually thought it was better for world building sake than it was to expand on Kylo's characters. So, I think it's interesting that they've got that commander there who was obviously in a previous war, and they're getting him back to try and give advice on how to win this war that Vader failed at. And I like that they draw comparisons between Kylo and Vader's war conquests. And I like also too, it's adding to that whole Kylo trying to mirror and finish off what Darth Vader started sentiment that is originally mentioned in The Force Awakens. But I didn't learn anything more about Kylo's character. I already knew he was arrogant. Again, like I was saying before, I want to see Kylo become this calm, calculated villain. in some ways, it's interesting. He's very like his father in that he's very like Anakin Skywalker, who also had anger issues and who also flipped out. And I think I think that's intentional for sure. I think that they have deliberately written his character to be emotionally volatile in that same way. And again, it was that emotional volatility that helped lead Anakin Skywalker to the dark side. And I think that again is something that they're echoing through Kylo Ren. But Kylo's the big bad now. And, you know, in the original trilogy, Darth Vader was just such a chilling villain. And there was just a real sense of dread every time he was on screen. I want to feel just, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but I just want a little bit of that formidable, you know, sort of villain that makes me feel that dread when he comes on screen. Because, it's just not there right now. I hope they get to it.
Yeah. Ellen, your thoughts?
I really enjoyed it. I agree. Beautifully drawn. And it is nice seeing the comparison between him and Vader. And that's true. I think maybe that Kylo Ren's too much like Anakin and not enough like Vader. And I think that's where he's different.
Well said.
If anyone has seen The Last Airbender, the first time I saw Kylo Ren, I thought, I hope they take him on the same journey they took Zuko in The Last Airbender, who is looking up to his father figure, who is like a fierce leader of the Fire Nation, who's that stoic, calm figure, and then Zuko goes on his own journey. And I hoped they had have done the same with Kylo Ren, and it would be good to see some of that in this comic as well. Obviously, they're just so short that we are only going to get a little taste each time. But you're right. I think the comic does show that he's got that same arrogant nature that he does in the films. But it's still fun. Like, I just want to see more and more of Kylo Ren. I think he's a really interesting character. Even if he's not the most well-executed villain, I think he's interesting. Yeah.
I second that. It did, I will say, I just want to add after that, it did make me want more.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that by far Kylo Ren is the most interesting character in the sequel trilogy. I think you can take that to the bank because, I'm not interested in anyone else's story, really. But Kylo Ren I am, and it's really cool to read these comic issues. I liked this comic issue, and for the Clone Wars fans, this was a pretty big comic issue because we learnt more about the Zillo Beast, which is plays quite a big story plot in Clone Wars, and we hadn't. Problem is with the Clone Wars is that it had these really great story plots, and it just didn't get the chance to finish those story plots. And what we learned in this comic issue actually gave us, I guess, a conclusion as to what happened in that Clone Wars story plot. So that was actually really cool, being a Clone Wars fan, knowing what happened to the Zillo Beast. But yeah, it was a really cool comic. I really enjoyed Kylo having this idea of having to one-up his grandfather. It's interesting because on one hand you have Kylo in The Force Awakens who's in a way trying to respect and trying to live up to be his grandfather by saying, show me the darkness again. And then on the other hand, you have this Kylo who is very arrogant and is so certain that he can be better than Vader. I need to delve more into that because I'm a little bit confused. Does he respect his grandfather, or does he just go, I'm completely better than you and I think you were a failure? Because it does show, the comic does show that Vader failed where Kylo succeeded. So it was cool to see that, Kylo goes in and he absolutely shreds up this beast, no worries at all. But yeah, I would like to delve more into Kylo, and I guess his in his journey to becoming his grandfather. I think it's really cool. I hope we delve into that in episode 9 as well. I don't know if you guys saw the leaked trailer that they had I think it was a Comic-Con or Star Wars Celebration or something, but it was like a shot of Kylo looking down at Darth Vader's helmet again in Rise of Skywalker. So hopefully we learn more about Kylo and his journey and trying to follow his grandfather's footsteps. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I think Kylo needs he needs a better motivation. And he can, the prequel trilogy isn't the best executed, but Anakin has some pretty compelling and understandable reasons we can sympathize with for wanting to go to the dark side. Like, his most loved ones are in danger of dying and he wants to save them. But what I don't just... It's just a big problem with this new trilogy. Like, why do any of these characters do anything? I mean, why does the Resistance even exist? What are they resisting? Like, what happened to the Empire or the Republic? Like, are they... Like, what... You know what I mean? Like, none of these... And I shouldn't have to read extended universe stuff to know the answers to these. The films should make sense within themselves. And, again, like, it's just... It's lots of style, but not much substance, and ultimately pretty shallow. That's what new Star Wars is. It's pretty shallow. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer on this, but just do something cool with Kylo. I think they hint at it in The Force Awakens. Maybe they start things, but I guess I don't know. They wasted a movie with The Last Jedi. So.
I feel like he should have been a bigger focus because he's a part of a very long family legacy. Like, Star Wars surrounds the Skywalker family. And, like, it's cool that he's the bad guy, but I wonder what would have happened if he was, like, an anti-hero in the newer films. These are all questions that we can ask.
Well, he could be yet. You know, like, he killed Snoke, so he could yet be an anti-hero. But yeah, I mean, it can be argued that, you know, his whole motivation of going to the dark side, well, there really is no motivation. Like, why is he trying to be like his grandfather?
Yeah.
What is the motivation behind that? I don't know. Like, why did he turn to the dark side? Like, what was his reason to turn?
Because bad.
Yeah. It is shallow, as you said, Roll. There really is no depth to it. At least Anakin had a reason to turn, and quite a legitimate reason at that too. There's just no reasoning behind that. And you're right, Roll. You shouldn't have to delve into comics and books to find out those basic answers. They should all be within the movie. The comics and books are there, you know, so you can delve more into it, not to delve into it to find out those basic answers.
Yeah.
You want extended content because you're just hungry for more Star Wars stuff and you just freaking love it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
See, the more like things I see like this, the more I realize just exactly what Episode 9 would have to do to satisfy me and to make me happy and to fix this trilogy.
It's going to do a lot.
And it can't... Well, I mean, it can't. It's impossible. It just can't. I don't think it can be fixed.
We asked too much.
Yeah, I'm asking...
Of one film.
Just
The
asking
thing
for a
is,
good
like,
movie.
we want to find out, like, for example, we want to find out more about the Knights of Ren, but then you think about everything else this movie has to answer, like, who were Rey's parents? What is Emperor Palpatine doing back? And by the time you answer those questions, well, there's a lot of the movie already taken up. You know, you got to remember too. I think there's a 2-year gap between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Like, they've got to explain what's happened in those last 2 years, if anything significant's happened. By the time you introduce, like, Lando Calrissian back and all these new characters they have planned, you're not leaving much room to explain the cool stuff like the Knights of Ren or why Kylo wants to follow Darth Vader. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe he thinks Darth Vader is a failure because in the end he turned back to the light side.
Does he?
know.
But do we even know that Kylo knows what happened to Darth Vader in the end?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I mean. We don't even know that. Was he ever told the truth about his grandfather? Those are kind of the questions we got to know. Anyway,
Get it together.
Get it together. I think we'll move on anyway. That was our whole segment of just talking about the Kylo Ren issue, which completely went off topic in the end. But we got a couple more things to talk about. The new map for Lucia has debuted on Battlefront 2. I know you guys haven't played it, but I got a chance to play it, and it came out a few days ago, and it's a really cool map. They introduced Conquest, which came out. Not Conquest, sorry, Supremacy, which came out a few months ago. That's a cool playlist to play. That game, like that match itself, can literally go on for like hours because it's just a back and forth until one of you has to capture it. It's kind of like capture the flag.
40 player?
40 player, yeah.
Cool.
So I've been playing with my roommate Kurt, and we've been having a lot of fun. So really enjoying Battlefront 2 at the moment. I haven't really been playing it for like last 12 months up until literally like last week. This new map came out, and then I played it, and I'm pretty much back into it. So if you're interested in playing a first-person shooter, definitely try out Battlefront 2.
It looks gorgeous, that game. I think out of any game, they really nailed
Yeah.
the feel and the look and the sound design. I remember being awesome.
It is awesome. Like I've got the PS4 Pro up on my 4K TV, and that thing just looks like amazing. Like,
Yeah.
it looks awesome. It's one of the most visually stunning games ever. Anyway, that's my input into Battlefront 2. More Star Wars video games. Rolly, you have had a chance to play on the Switch with the re-released Star Wars games.
Yeah, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. And it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, half of the game is terrible and half of the game is really good. So the first half of the game, you don't unlock your force powers until close to halfway through the game. Yeah, and so for this is originally a PC release as well. So this is a port from the PC to the Switch. And so being that this is an old PC game, there's no aim assist or anything with any of the gunplay. So it's pretty painful, I would say, gameplay for the first half. But as soon as you get your lightsaber, it's all good. Because people die at the hands of your lightsaber, and it is insanely fun going around using your force lightning powers and throwing your lightsaber and doing all this cool stuff. I would actually argue that there hasn't been a better game a game that has featured better lightsaber play than this since this release. Yeah. So anyone who likes mowing down stormtroopers with a lightsaber, I recommend it too. And also too, the sequel to this game, Jedi Academy, is coming out in 2020. It's been announced, so get onto it. It's cool, and it's got a really cool storyline.
Excellent.
It's Legends now. It's not canon, but it's a really cool storyline featuring Luke Skywalker. You get to see Luke Skywalker in all his glory at his Jedi Academy, training his pupils, being the badass Jedi that we all wanted him to be. So yeah, if you want to see that, and the main character you play is actually really cool as well. He's a renegade stormtrooper with a cool backstory, really well voiced as well. So they actually get Billy D. Williams back to voice Lando as well.
Yeah,
in this
awesome.
game. Yeah, so it's cool. It's worth checking out. Yeah,
Excellent. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps it all up for us at Star Bros Podcast. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. Don't forget, you can go back and check out all our reviews that we've got up currently. Make sure you go subscribe to us on SoundCloud, YouTube. We are also now on Apple Podcasts, so you can check us out on there. Thank you very much for joining in, and we will see you next week.
thank you.